Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. And now, here are Bob and Richard.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guest today, returning from last week, Eric Rosenthal, who's an entrepreneur, writer, podcaster, educator, who combines gaming and travel, getting the advantages out of both in terms of slot clubs and travel loyalty programs. So we got lots of questions for him. Last week was so good, we wouldn't let him leave without promising to come back. So Eric Rosenthal, welcome back to Gambling with an Edge.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
So, in actuality, this podcast is all about me. So, so let's talk more about me. I want to go to London.
Right.
So, and I have all these different credit cards and different airline points, and what should I do? I want to. How can you help me?
How can I help you? Well, so first of all, I think the listeners would like to know more about you than more about me. So I think this is a good way to start.
But again, it's about me,
right,
and what I care about.
I understand. I understand. So that works. So we
get our payment for these podcasts in various ways.
Right.
It's interesting, right? So it's going to depend on if it's going to be revenue or if it's going to be point-based, and it's going to definitely matter if this is an economy booking or a business or higher.
Okay, so actually, I should throw that into the mix. So I, of course, have to take my wife, and if my wife is going, I may end up having to take my kids. And when I do these trips in the past, normally I end up maybe using some points on them, but keeping my ticket pay so that I generate more points.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So that's when I travel with my family, it's the exact same thing. I'm generally a revenue ticket, or if it's points that'll show as revenue, and we just use miles on the kids.
And for the ones that I am going to pay for, should I be using a specific card to pay for the revenue ticket?
Yeah. I mean, there are advantages to different cards. I think we'll need a little bit more specifics, but I think the first question I'd have is this a one-off trip, or is it something you think you would be doing again?
Well, I love London, so I wouldn't mind going a couple of times a year or whatever.
All right. So, I mean, this is my exact example.
Wait, I should interject one more thing. Don't everybody jump on a plane and head to London. There's no secret game there. I just happen to really like London and the theater scene there. And
I believe him.
A friend or two who lives there, so...
By the way, I mean, you've mentioned it many times, like the amount of money, if you could figure out how to get it out of a casino in London, oh my God. So the games are fantastic. They're for somebody like myself who's not looking to walk out with a lot of money under each arm, but is looking for an advantageous way to get to and from London. Yeah, there's a lot of play in London. I'm a big fan. So what I would do if you were willing to come back is there's a concept called nesting. And nesting means that you basically have at least one part of your trip for another trip built in on either a secondary ticket, or that your itinerary as you're booking it is not really in line with the amount of time that you're willing to stay. I went to London a couple of months ago, and I really only needed to be there for the weekend. And when I looked at the rates to book for the weekend, it was fairly expensive. But when I think the magic number was 30 days, but it may just be the algorithm. When I booked one trip leaving on day one, I'm out of Newark, so Newark to London Heathrow. with a 30-day spread between leaving Newark and arriving back to Newark, and then booking a second ticket, leaving London Heathrow on the day that I actually wanted to go home, and then back to London Heathrow, thereby providing a crisscross with 2 trips, it was substantially cheaper than the 1 ticket. So you have to start playing with dates and figure out when you might be able and or willing to go back a second time. Predominantly with business fares and higher, I don't see the same fluctuation with coach. And round trip tickets international, there's a difference between it being a revenue ticket and it being points or miles based. But if you send me specifically what you're looking for and the airlines that you use, rather than giving everybody the details of your itinerary, I could certainly, do that for you.
Well, since this show's all about Richard, it's all right to know.
All right. We'll need your social security number first, Richard. Let's start there.
Okay.
Oh, wait. You mentioned that there was a way to turn points into looking like a revenue ticket or something like that.
Yeah. So if you purchase using my favorite way of doing that, because most of my points turned are through American Express, when you use member reward points, Amex is actually paying for your ticket. So you don't have to do anything extra to make it become a revenue ticket. It is a revenue ticket. So even though it's not cash out of your pocket, the airline is actually getting paid, and they will credit you just as if you paid for it yourself.
But Amex doesn't credit you as having paid for the ticket and give you more points.
No.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. No. There are double dip opportunities, but that is not one of them.
Okay.
All right. So let's go back to last week. We talked a little bit about you had a big play at Revel, and all these hosts kept contacting you because all the casinos were closing. So the hosts were changing jobs, looking to bring in big players from ACT. So you had a whole network of hosts. So those of us who were not in on the Revel bonanza, how do we build a network of hosts, and what good will that do us?
You gotta kiss a lot of toads to find the right one. So I make it a point to speak with various types of hosts. In my total rewards days, I was able to work my way up to somebody in national casino marketing. That made all the difference. That was, I think, the key to unlocking what I needed to get out of the program. But you have to be open to and seek out different people and kind of have off-the-cuff conversations, not just about what they can do for you, but about what you can do for them, right? It's kind of important to know how they're compensated. Some hosts you can just grease, other hosts can't be greased, but there's other ways to take care of them. And
how much should you grease them?
It well, so I think the first part is, what do you want from them and what can you expect from them? And what is their discretionary authority, and how are they able to make that call where their saying yes is equal to, hopefully substantially more than what you're greasing? Sure,
but let's say that they're giving you a trip and you're going to end up with, say, $2,000 in EV, non-comp, but actual cash equivalents, airfare, rebate, whatever.
Sure.
Front money, chips, or whatever. So you're going to get $2,000 EV out of it, plus the comps. What would you grease that host for that weekend?
I guess I need to know what I would be able to get without them, right? So what's the marginal yield that I'm getting from working with him? So if I, a lot of it has to do with how it's a people business, right? So in your scenario, let's say I could probably get 1,000 on my own, and they were able to get me 2,000, so they're worth $1,000 to me. That's probably worth $300.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
But it comes down to it's a people business. There are
Right.
some people around whom prostitutes play hard to get, and there's other people around whom everybody loves to be with them, and they do it. So it helps to be to have those social skills. It's a lot of APs who are always looking for not paying anything, and get a lot of my gambling friends are not well developed socially,
Imagine.
including me. So playing well with others is not a strong point of a lot of people. So it strikes me, Eric, that you are much, much better at the playing well with others. That I might be way ahead of you in gambling knowledge, but in terms of playing well with others, you're just light years ahead of me. So
well, thank you, but it's just a different skill set, right?
it is.
So I can't. Not only can I not do what you do from the video poker standpoint, I wouldn't have the stamina for what you do. So I think everybody should work with what they have, and I don't think if you're really an introverted person and you don't like having these conversations, and that's why you've turned to gambling as either your profession or recreation. I don't know that anybody's going to change that, right? You can get better, but it does take finesse.
I guess I don't have the stamina to kiss a lot of toads.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I bet you have more than you're leading on to, because I know enough about you and your career to know that if you didn't have people that knew who you were, and everybody knows who you are, if you didn't have people on your side, you would have a lot more issues. I know you get no mail. I know there are places that don't want your action, but you definitely have places that do. So you must be, whether it's Gone or any other place that likes you, you have to be affable enough for them to want you in.
There are, and I work at that. And at some places, I'm less successful at that than I am at others.
But so we were talking about how to get these hosts, right?
Networking. Networking. So, on the independent side, these are generally junket reps. There's a lot of people out there that have a license but don't have any pull, right? So you kind of need to weed through them, and then you need to work your way up to people that have more pull and are looking to build a relationship going forward. My favorite type of host is not one who's looking to be greased every time I see him. He's looking to build a book. And somebody who's looking to build a book and is an aggressive, entrepreneurial kind of a guy, he'll see that if I'm continually feeding him profitable players for him, that's worth more than the $300 or $500 that I might give him on the trip, right? And when you know one guy who is like that, they know other guys that are like that. And as long as you're not stepping on toes, and, if I will say to host X, I'm looking to go to Baha Mar, and I know that you don't represent them. Who do you know that reps Baha Mar, and that, you know how I operate? Who do you think would be a good fit? And that host is going to be the best referral source that I can get for somebody else that will rep the property, be able to help me, and know how to build something long term.
Cruise ships. A lot of players get semi-free trips. And so how do you utilize junket reps and stuff on casino programs on cruises profitably?
So this is something that is relatively new to me, and I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but I'm making headway very, very quickly. I've had free cruises through the Total Rewards 7-star offer for years.
So that would be Norwegian.
But most of the cruise lines that offer that have a casino and that they've got some form of player development through their casino, they will have hosts. And these hosts don't have to work for the cruise line. It can be the same guy that could book you. Well, let me...
in the Bahamar.
Right. So I'll give you an example. I'm a fan of Craig Shacklett from urcomp.com. He is...
what is that?
The letter U, the letter R, compt.com.
Okay.
Okay. So Craig Shacklett is the CEO. He's a good guy. He's been a speaker at both of our Zorkfest events. When I told him I needed a prize for one of our charity events, he came up with a free cruise for us. Like he knows what he's doing. He reps Bahamar and he reps cruise lines, and he's a lot better at the cruise line than he is at Bahamar. And the reason is that's his background. So not to make this a commercial for Craig and UR Compt, but I know that I can go to him and tell him what I want. And cruise lines, based upon the amount of empty rooms that they have, they adjust the theoretical that's required to book a comped room, right? So certain things fluctuate and certain things are static. But if I have a good host who can tell me when there is this fluctuation and he knows what he can verify and get things done, I mean, I could legitimately travel the world for free just based on cruises. You can't stiff them in the casino and expect it to continue. And
what kind of action are they looking for to get these comped cruises?
So you can have
or
that
front money. I assume they want some front money. And
I've never been asked for front money. So you
do credit or
not on the cruise. I mean, you can, but you have the established theoretical from a land-based casino. That's enough to qualify you for a free cruise. So how far over are you? Well, then that's going to determine what they give you. But I was on a cruise a month ago. I think it was early July. And I wanted to use my credit card to get points. They let you advance cash as a sale. So when we were talking about, cash equivalents, well, if I took money from the table, they had a 3% fee. If I took money from a video poker machine, there was no fee. Now, the pay tables were a joke, but if I wanted to cycle $3,000 a day per person in my group, I could absolutely do that, and all that required was a little bit of play on a terrible pay table.
Even a 5% pay table, $3,000 is only $15.
If you ran it through.
I wasn't running it through. Yeah, I'm not gonna. They had 6-5 jacks or better. I'm not playing that. But I can use the video poker machine to draw $3,000 a day per person in my room.
So wait, you could put a credit card into the video poker machine?
The credit card is linked to your room key. Your room key is also your player card.
I see.
So if you're on the cruise ship and you put your player card in the machine and you say withdraw cash or download cash, the cruise line is charging your credit card as a sale, in this case, for $3,000, just room charge.
Now, how much play do you need to give them for these?
I think if you don't play a couple of hands, it'll lock up on you.
No, I mean to if you just go on the cruise and stiff them,
right?
Yeah, you can charge up $20,000 in room charge, but you got to give them some play, I would think, in order to get the next cruise. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer because it's case by case. So I think
you would ask the host ahead of time.
Absolutely.
How much do I need to play?
Yeah, exactly. So, and each cruise line is a little different. And, I'd stay away from all electronic gaming unless you know something that I don't know on this particular ship. But, you can give table action with, somewhat fair rules. And if you factor in what the cost of that cruise is, for 4 people, because this was my family and I, that it's a real number, So the dollar that you would have spent to get on that cruise that is now recaptured, that is, effectively, it should be factored in as to the expected value of the action that you're giving.
Huh. And so you go through urcomp.com for that.
I speak to a lot of people. I know Craig personally. I like him. I trust him. If I could get one person that I trust for each different area that I'm looking for, I'm happy. But I still want backups. But I've had very good success working with Craig. I'm really happy with URCompt.
So how does it work? You mentioned that you bring other gamblers to these hosts.
Right.
And do they compensate you for that, or or are you just doing that as a way of scratching their back so they scratch yours?
I am not a licensed junket rep or a licensed host, so it would be illegal for me to receive cash compensation of any kind. However,
Gotcha.
I will say it's worth more for me in the long run that they, and not just the host, but also the property, view me as somebody who is bringing them profitable play and not just based on what play I'm going to give them. Because when we host these events, that's probably a little strong. When we get these people together, I never play at a higher level than the people that I'm with. Right, so we had an event in Atlantic City 2 weeks ago. We had over 200 people show up.
We meaning TravelZork?
So this was actually through an Everything AC group, but I played a role in getting some, I'll say, some advantageous options for people who were part of our group, and not necessarily monetary. But when you know the right people, you can make a phone call and ask for more, or ask
maybe
for
food or rooms or discounts on rooms or things like that.
On a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
We didn't blanket, hey, I get 200 people coming in. We tried that in the past, and we got free play and we got extra comps, and then they're running spreadsheets and they're looking for, all right, what is your group worth? And I found that if I ask for less and deliver more, when I come back, they're much happier to give me what I need. And it's not as self-serving as it sounds, because every member of the group is receiving the benefit. But yeah, so I don't even remember what the original question was.
Or just about how you get compensated for bringing in these players.
Yeah, so it's goodwill.
Yeah.
Predominantly goodwill. But it, in order for this to work and for the math to be right, while I would never no-play a host, I'll no-play marketing offers all day long. So I probably need somebody at the property who's going to understand that I might give you real action today. I might book out rooms in the future and not give you equivalent play, but my value isn't really in my play necessarily, right? Some places people like to go to and we can have a good time at, but it's, at least from a comp harvesting standpoint, it's not profitable. So either I can leave them off the list altogether, or I can find another way.
There are some tier-based benefits in various loyalty programs. How do you find out about that, and how do you maximize it when you do find out?
I think that's the heart at where you can find whether a deal is a good deal or not. So the Total Rewards program was really the first one that I started with. And to this day, if you were to Google Total Reward changes, when they devalued the program in 2018, like my article on TravelZork is the top one on Google. You need to be able to convert points to either value or dollars. And with experience, you can figure out the value of what you're able to extract, right? So since I'm here and it's a 7 stars weekend and Total Rewards I can do off the top of my head, I'll use them as an example. I figured out that, all right, so there's the value of the cruise, there's the value of the annual trip. That has a dollar amount, and it has an amount of play that's required.
And there's $500 food credit a year.
6, actually. You get the 5 plus the 1 for Diamond along the way.
But the cruise, if you're already able to book all the free cruises you want, then the cruise really doesn't have as much value, right?
Not true, because this cruise I don't have to play on.
Oh, right.
At all.
Okay.
Right? So I can book this cruise avoid, I don't want to say avoid my host, but, you know, when I'm building relationships with people, I don't want to no play them, right? Because that, you know, they remember that. Even if they smile to your face, they remember that. But a tier-based cruise offer is, there's no requirement to play at all. And they expect it, but there's no requirement. So there is value. It may be to a lesser degree because I could just call Craig and, you know, get the same cruise, but I'm not going to stiff Craig. So we got a freebie, right? And if you and your wife are both 7 stars, I would imagine you could do back-to-back cruises once a year. I think I know somebody who does something like that.
We definitely do back-to-back, and this year is back-to-back-to-back. If I'm the somebody you're talking about. But
wait, how'd you get 3? Or you're combining different casinos?
Different casinos, and sometimes casinos offer cruise offers in addition to the annual benefit. So there's an annual benefit that you get, and sometimes they have additional cruise offers.
So there's different cost centers that they're coming from. And just like a host making a discretionary comp or a marketing offer, it's kind of the same game, right? So if they're coming from different cost centers, I'm sure if you had the time, you could probably book more than 3.
Oh, yeah, sure. But then
the boat starts going back where you just were, so.
Yeah, well, it's, for us, like, when we fly to Boston and do 2 or 3 weeks, basically, it's an expense to fly to Boston, and so that's a significant distance to fly for a 1-week free cruise, and it's basically only half as much per cruise if you do it 2 weeks. So
we can amortize that. I like it.
Another factor, though, slightly disagreeing with what you said. I had signed up for another back-to-back, but one was over the Christmas week. Mm-hmm. And so I called after the award became relevant, because each casino system has their awards become relevant on a certain date. I called and says, oh, well, that date is blacked out for that award, and which is certainly possible. And you don't know about this up front because it's you don't know what dates are until you know. And so you just so I had made the reservation quite a bit in advance to make sure I could get what we wanted. And so they wouldn't really budge on this, you know, and then they looked at my play and saw on most NCL cruises, I totally stiffed the casino.
Right.
And so they go, you know, if you played heavily in casino, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Of course you'd have it. But, you know, why do you do it? And I go, well, I'm a video poker player, and your video poker pay schedules really suck. And so we did a compromise, and we got an inside cabin for the free cruise, whereas I thought going in it was going to be a balcony, but the balcony was off the table, and so we compromised on a free inside, which we were there for another cruise anyway, and so we took it. But it's your total record does stay with you.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting it doesn't stay with you. They absolutely know, but that doesn't mean that a host with separate inventory doesn't have the ability to book it for you.
Now, the host doesn't get any heat for you not playing on the one that he didn't book you on.
Correct. But the one, I'm going to use Craig as the example. If I had that situation, I would have called Craig and I would have said, this is the cruise I want to go on. Do you have inventory? What do you need to see? Because at this point, now I'm saying, all right, I'm going to give you action. Right, we're gonna make this work. He could have booked it for you, and then you have to decide if the balcony is worth that expected loss and, you know, the required action.
Now, we'll use since despite what you heard at the early part of the show, this show is all about me. Would Craig be interested in AP video poker players?
On a cruise ship where there's no pay tables worth playing?
Basically not on cruise ships. I'm cruised out.
Yeah, but, so I can't speak for him. That's really more a property decision, right? So if there's a property that doesn't want you, I don't think he can make a compelling argument for them to change their mind. And I don't know, I really shouldn't speak for him, but unless there's something in their system where they're saying, that dancer guy, we don't want him. Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue.
Do you think it's is it best to be straight up with the host and
Always.
tell him?
Well,
so he knows that you are actually there for value, that you're there for the money.
100%. He refers people to me who need help in this regard. He knows exactly who I am. He knows why I'm there. And, even though you may be an AP video poker player, I don't think it's going to report that way to him, right? So I'm going under the assumption that you're going to give him some action and that you found a way to minimize your theoretical loss to an area where it's at least comfortable for you. My understanding is that he's going to be paid on your theoretical as it's recorded. So, I don't think it really matters.
All right. So we're talking to Eric Rosenthal. We are going to take a short break. We still have lots more questions for Eric. The South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning more than 99%. This is more than anyone else has. There are 2 separate promotions going on in September. First, there's a $600,000 Money Madness promotion, where there are 2 casino-wide progressives going on at the same time. The big one must be hit between 10,000 and 25,000. And if you're playing when somebody else hits it, you get $25 in free play. The smaller one starts at 1,000 and must be hit before 2,500, and it hits about 3 times a day. You are eligible for both promotions so long as your card is in and you've played at least $1 in the past 60 seconds. The second monthly promotion is for bottles of moonshine. Play 500 points per week, Sunday through Saturday, and earn 1 bottle of City Lights Shine. Maximum 2 bottles per week, your choice of 4 different flavors. These bottles are specially labeled to commemorate the inaugural South Point NASCAR race, which took place on September 16th. At videopoker.com, it's the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the Gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is Face Card Frenzy. You may play this game anywhere from 6 coins per line to 10 coins, with the odds increasing as you increase your bet. In this game, full houses and quads, including jacks, queens, and kings and aces, return a lot more than usual. To make the math work, all pay schedules categories are bumped up, meaning that you need to learn an entirely new strategy to play this game. All right, we're back talking to Eric Rosenthal.
Let's get back to me for a second. SPG
Yep.
Is Marriott. And Cosmo, not that I play there or ever would, they're very sharp over there. Their points were transferable to Marriott, but
Right.
then Marriott bought SPG. But here's my actual question. You can explain that about the Marriott and SPG and Cosmo and all that.
Sure.
When I travel, I'm almost always now using Airbnb rather than hotel rooms.
Okay.
So, the SPG card has an annual fee. Should I get rid of it, or can I use those points somewhere else? And if I should get rid of it, do I need to transfer the points somehow somewhere before getting rid of it?
Okay, so I have the SPG card, both business and personal. And I don't know if it was last week's show or if we were talking about it before recording. I generally don't get rid of these cards. SPG being absorbed into Marriott, their new rules, the SPG card is no longer really worthwhile. The advantage there was that 20,000 points on SPG, which is Starwood Preferred Guest, I guess if we're throwing out acronyms, that could transfer to an airline for 25,000. So you were picking up a bonus every time you made that transfer.
And I can't do that anymore?
You know, I don't know. There has been a lot of changes. So the Marriott absorption of Starwood Preferred, the deadline was in August, and we're kind of past the deadline at this point, and it isn't something that I personally focus on. But the Marriott points that you have from Cosmo are Marriott points. Those didn't change. The only question was if you had Starwood Preferred points, they were transferring at a 3-to-1 ratio to Marriott, which did open up some opportunities, but really at this point, that it just kind of is what it is, to the best of my knowledge. So you can still transfer them out, and whether you have SPG points or Marriott points, they have transfer partners. And if you're not going to be using it for either a really it's going to be a Marriott branded stay at this point, then yeah, you want to transfer them out. Even if you lose a little bit of value along the way, you know, points that are just going to wither and die, right? I mean, I'd rather get something for it than nothing.
Right. Okay.
All right. Since this show is really all about me, one of your things on here was timing action and Theo to maximize projected marketing offers. Now, this is both in casinos and in travel.
Yeah.
What was it? What were you talking about here?
Yeah. So the casino part, I think, is easier to explain and understand. So in general, the offers that you get are going to increase as you are a new player, or if time has passed since you've been back to the casino, right? So we either want to, if we know that we're going somewhere where rooms are going to be expensive, the best example I have is in Atlantic City, a summer Saturday on the boardwalk. That's a $400 or $500 room, right? If you're going to pay revenue for it. If I wanted to get a comp in Atlantic City, in addition to what I already have, I might go to a property that I haven't been to in a while, and I might show them some action. I'd start scouting for a promotion, probably around March, maybe April. And I'd go in and I'd be either a brand new player, you know, whether you have 1 card or 2 cards or 3 cards, or if you're on only 1 card, you go in and you're going to reestablish yourself as a player, because the value of that room that Saturday in July has real value, assuming it's a given that you want to be there. So the timing is everything. You need to kind of pay attention to where you are in the cycle. Are they reinvesting in you in a upward scale or in a downward scale? And whenever it's an upward scale, meaning you either have never been there and they want to get you hooked, or it's been a while and they want to bring you back, that's the time to play. That's the time to give them the action, so that you get more than you normally would.
At Total Rewards, is that, I think I heard that was a 6-month, if you haven't played at any Total Rewards property for 6 months, you're basically starting over, resetting.
Yeah,
you lose a lot if you let it expire. If you have any kind of balance at all,
you're talking about reward credits?
Yeah,
okay,
no,
so
I'm talking about if you
to cycle through their rolling tracking
exactly.
periods. Yeah, so it's going to vary, but I think that's a fair number to go by. I'd stay away for 6 months and then try again. Bob, regarding the reward credits that you're referring to, if you have the credit card and you spend $1 on the credit card, that earns a reward credit and pushes you forward another 6 months.
Does it trip you?
No. Oh, no. So this has nothing to do with the casino. You just use the credit card.
So could you get 7 stars by churning on their credit card without playing at all?
It's not earning tier credits.
Oh, okay.
Okay. However, the spend on property. All right. Let me answer your question fully. Yes. You could get 7 stars without gambling $1 on property ever. So assuming you found a way where you could purchase anything on property, you earn 1 tier credit per dollar spent, right? And they have the daily bonuses, and your gambling and your spend kind of code together. They combine them for that daily tier bonus purpose. It could absolutely be done. Now, everything is subject to approval.
If Caesars would just sell Bitcoins.
So yeah, if Caesars would just sell Bitcoins, but we're talking about Caesars specifically. There are other casinos that have in the past sold gold coins, right? I know. So somebody who follows me and came to the different Zorkfest events, she called me up to tell me she found something great. Okay, what? She said, well, in Vegas, and she's a M Life and MGM Resorts player, you get the 25 points per dollar spent, and tier matters to her. So she's buying tickets, concert tickets, things that are selling out. She's buying it to get the points, puts it on whatever reselling
StubHub or something, or
something like that, right? So, and she's really looking for high dollar, high value, like things that it's going to be in demand, and she's going to get a lot of spend out of it. I think she told me she's platinum just based on spend. Right now, what is platinum worth? That's a separate conversation altogether.
But the idea is the important thing.
Right. And conceptually, this is alive and well all over the country. You just need to find a network that rewards for spend and a way where you could spend a lot of money. And, generally there are, M Life has a credit card that gives 5 times points. Well, I could make a case that as long as she's sound in the purchases that she's making and that there is a resale market for it, she could generate a lot by churning through. You look like a high roller for everything that she's buying, but it's being resold on the back end and just uses that money to pay off the credit card. There's no carrying cost.
Sounds like a smart play. What about using markers instead of bringing cash in?
Okay. We talked a little bit about central credit. And generally speaking, when you're dealing with a new host, that's kind of how they're going to look you up. They're going to look for a referral, but they're going to want to know, are you a player? What markers do you have? What are you pulling? I would say that a marker is better than front money in that it's very easy to establish that you are somebody who regularly accesses 10, 20, 30, whatever the number is.
Can you pay your marker with credit cards?
In a convoluted way in Las Vegas, I know people who have. There are websites that allow you to send a check based on your credit card. So it codes to your credit card as a purchase, and then they send a check out. And I do know of somebody who tested this theory, and it worked, but it's not without a fee. So I don't know of a
1 or 2%, something on that range.
I don't know of a profitable way to do it. However, if I had a marker out in Las Vegas, I would not want that marker to be returned. This is not the right place to do that. And if I had to go via the credit card route to cover it, I'd pay the fee.
Well, but what I'm also wondering is if you have a good relationship with the host, right? And let's say you have a trip and you have $20,000 worth of markers, right? Normally, they have, depending on your deal, they might not get money for 90 days, right? Or
Right.
at least 30 days.
Right, negotiable.
But if you
here.
went to your host that morning of and said, look, I'm willing to pay off this marker today if you'll put it on my credit card as a purchase, not as a cash advance, I would think a lot of places would take that.
If there's any place that would allow it to happen, it would be here. I don't know of anybody who has successfully done it.
I've tried a few places unsuccessfully.
It would-
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
also, if you owe them $20,000, sometimes you can say, "Hey, you got to give me some discount here," and they'll rebate some of it.
Well, that
that's
part's true.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is funny, right?
Right.
They pay what, 2 or 3% on the credit card, but they might give you 5 or 7 or
Right.
even 10 in
And-
cash.
Right.
And if you can successfully pass for Asian, it helps you even more.
Well, yes,
That
that's
has-
a superpower. But
Yes. That's been something I've been aspiring for many years. And yet, nah, no dice.
What about non-casino hotel programs that can be used for rooms and negotiating comps with hosts?
Okay. So, Richard had mentioned Marriott's deal with Cosmo. It's becoming more and more common that these large properties are going to have some affiliation with non-casino hotel properties. The big two are Hyatt and Marriott. And Hyatt has been, like, fantastic for me. So Revel closed and reopened as Ocean. And I've been able to get what I want from the host at Ocean. But if I need more, because it's now loosely a Hyatt property, we were able to book with Hyatt points, right? And, there's always this transfer, and, if I needed to get Hyatt points, but I had Chase Ultimate Reward points, I could convert one to the other to cover it for, like, pennies. You could get extra rooms, things of that nature. Well, the people that do travel hacking, things of that nature, they know how to get to the top tier at these different programs. Hyatt is one that they give a fair amount to their top tier guests.
would you say that's a much better program than the Marriott program?
Their footprint is much smaller, so I think it depends on. I think everything's subjective. For me, it is a much better program. Okay, so I don't want to take
Is that
credit.
because you have big feet?
It's because I have big feet. That's they're 15s. They're big feet. This idea I don't want to take credit for, because it was actually one of the guys that comes to the different events and he listens to my podcast. His name is John, and we're sitting over breakfast because he is top tier with Hyatt, and he said, "Yeah, just come join me for breakfast. I get free breakfast every day." And we're talking, and all right, so you have Hyatt benefits, and you have your host, and you have, other offers, things of that nature. And we were talking about how, well, I can tell the host, you know what, you don't need to pay for this food. That's already covered by Hyatt. You don't need to pay for this. That's already covered by Hyatt. You don't need to pay for this. That's already covered by Hyatt. So if I have a, $600 Theo, and you're going to give me $180, $200 off the bill, don't touch my breakfast. Don't touch, all of these things. Let's use it in other ways.
I used to. You mentioned last week that when you're in town, you play several or at least 2 properties because you have that airline ticket that can be reimbursed in both. And so I used to play maybe 4 or 5 properties.
Right.
And that airline ticket, and I would be able to go to the host and say, "Look, I didn't stay here. You didn't have to pay for a room. I didn't have a meal. I didn't have anything.
Right.
So, but I have my airline ticket." And yeah,
It just happened to be a $2,000 ticket flying from Los Angeles.
Well,
but
you don't expect me to fly coach, do you?
no, would never expect that.
So, Yeah, so the less they can say, oh, well, I'm giving you this $400 room, that costs them nothing,
right?
The more they can give you.
Right. So in that scenario, if I have Hyatt points, even though the host could take care of the room, the Hyatt points cost me nothing. Let me use the Hyatt points. Let me let Hyatt take care of some of the food and beverage. Let me let, whatever other benefits that I've accrued through that program, that should come off the top, right? So I've got extra things that I'd like the host to take care of. And I don't know if he wants his name mentioned, so I won't. But, this was not my original idea. But when you get gamblers that are comp savvy together with these travel programs, I mean, it's really amazing the amount of things that open up.
It is, and it's valuable to network in whatever field you're in.
I was saying to you in the break that I felt like there should be modern day travel agents who could do this for you, and I would gladly pay them for their knowledge to do these kinds of things. And you said there are people that
they're absolutely
do this. And are there any you recommend that I can put in the show notes?
Well, I mean, I know of people that do it, but I have no firsthand experience with them. I'd hate for you to send people there and they have a bad experience, and
sure.
I mean, we'd all blame Bob anyway. But
right,
the show's all about Richard. So
but if you were to look for, what would they call them? You're looking for award travel. Specialist, yeah, something like that. There are businesses where they do this for you, and for people that do a lot of travel, they're worth every penny. Yeah. They know way more than I do in that regard. And we had gone to a seminar. We didn't go together, but we happened to have been at the same place. I guess it was a couple of years ago. They held one at the D. And they had a couple of people there. One was a sponsor and one was a speaker, but that was exactly what they did.
All right. Now, we mentioned it last week, but some of our listeners have not listened to the earlier podcasts. So if somebody wants to talk to you about any of this, what are the best ways to get in touch with you?
You could reach me at on Twitter at erosenthal1029. You can email me at Eric R, that's ERICR, at travelzork.com. Those would be the best ways.
So, and the website is travelzork.com.
Travelzork.com.
And what is your podcast?
I am a co-host of the Vegas Confessions podcast. I want to be upfront to the advantage gamblers out there. I don't know that it's exactly what you are looking for. It's lighthearted, and it's we do cover some of these travel tips along the way, but it's a fun time. It's three guys that get together and talk about Vegas and gambling.
Is alcohol involved in the podcast? It makes for a more fun podcast.
Yeah, we found that breaking out the wine, at least with some of our female guests,
on one show that
really
worked really well.
Well, so it's funny. So before we record, we talk about that. So my two co-hosts are Shane and Julian. And Shane has been known to have a drink or two prior. And Julian has other forms of medicinal...
Advils, what you're talking about.
Green Advils, yeah.
Green Advils.
Yeah, and I've been known to have either a bourbon or a beer. Yeah.
Makes the show go well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eric. You've been on twice. This is excellent. Look forward to having you again somewhere down the road. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you.
I appreciate that. Thanks, guys. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Richard, and it's all my show. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.